All hits, all the time. Star 98.3, 10 minutes after 7 o'clock, 7:10. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show.
Good morning and welcome to Delegate John Bohanan. He is in studio. I have been waiting to get you in studio because I got some questions for you, my friend. But first of all, we saw your son at the King's Christian Academy. He looks like you. He has your wife's hair, but he looks like you.
He's his son.
And is he married? Because there was
not.
Well, that lovely young woman that he was with, she is a delight as well. So we saw him. He came up and said hi, and it was very nice to see him. But he does. He looks just like you.
There's no denying he's my
There's
son.
no Why would you want to? Why would you want to deny?
And thank goodness he took after his mother and has her brains. He's a mechanical engineer.
Oh, really?
He is.
He seems like a very nice boy.
So
now,
we're knee-deep in a political season.
We
and
are.
By the way, happy Halloween.
Right back at you, buddy.
Happy Halloween.
So we've been having candidates in, and I don't know, maybe it's because we've been having candidates in and we've been looking and digging into all sorts of things. This seems like, to me, as I'm just kind of watching this whole thing play out, I don't know if hostile's the right word. It seems a bit, on
edge.
Yeah, there seems to be a kind of a vibe in this political go around. A little different.
Okay, let's get to it right now. I want to know one of the biggest things, and nastiness in the paper. I'm going to say that first off. Some of the hateful things back and forth about this whole NRA endorsement. You got the endorsement, okay?
I did.
Did you or did you not vote for 281, which was the Protect Maryland from Deadly Guns, blah, blah, blah?
Not only did I vote against the bill,
Okay.
excuse me, I worked within House leadership. We modified the bill pretty significantly.
Okay.
And to the point where folks have acknowledged that the House version of 281 was less onerous than the Senate version. And we did make some modifying changes to it.
You made modifying changes to it, but you still voted against it.
I did.
Okay. All right. Good.
And I made it clear right from the start with leadership, I'm against the bill. It looks like it's going to pass, which it clearly did. But that I would like to make some changes because, in my opinion, the folks that you're really harming here are law-abiding citizens.
Right. Okay, I also saw this one thing here. You voted to repeal the death penalty.
I did.
Okay. And
clearly and squarely voted against the death penalty, and then it went to referendum, and
right.
And
then people got to vote, and then people voted.
People had their vote,
and then people voted the same way. We repealed the death penalty in the state of Maryland.
We did. I voted against the repeal.
You voted against the repeal. It went to referendum.
Right.
And then the people voted, and that's how the people voted.
It's been repealed.
So how many terms have you been up in Annapolis, John?
I was appointed in 1999 to replace John Slade when I became judge.
Okay.
So
let's say that you go back to Annapolis again as a delegate. What do you hope to accomplish up there?
We have a lot of great things underway, and I really do look forward to going back and picking up and finishing those. I want to start with what we have going on at the airport with some of the UAV test sites.
You've been on the whole UAV thing. I remember we had you on the show
for a number of
ago.
years,
yeah.
And it's now really beginning to come to fruition. If you go down to the airport, there are bulldozers moving. There are jobs being filled today because of some of the efforts.
Good.
And that really is exciting. You talk to folks inside the gate, they're very excited about it. The Navy is a full-fledged partner in what we're doing out there. And we think it holds some really great potential to begin diversifying us in a way that doesn't make us as reliant on the federal dollars inside defense, but it taps some of the talent pool, some of the resources and capabilities that we have here in the community.
I've talked to a number of candidates who have echoed that sentiment, and I think it's absolutely the direction Southern Maryland should be going. There's no knock on the base. The base is fantastic, but
this really supports the mission inside the fence.
Exactly.
Right. And yet leverages it.
Right. A lot of the candidates who have come in here, really on both sides of the fence, one of the popular issues that they all seem to be hitting on, and I want to know your take on it, taxes in Maryland. Look, there's no way getting around this. We are taxed up one side and down the other. You've been up there. You've been in Annapolis. You've seen a number of these bills go by. What is the sense in Annapolis? I get the impression Annapolis says, it's not as bad as they're all saying. And everybody's like, no, it's pretty bad.
Hello, come look.
So
right.
what's your take on it?
The reality is that there have been some taxes, very unpopular, but you need to do them. Gas tax is one.
You were in here on the show when the gas tax was about ready to be passed. You never shied away from that. You said on this show that it was going to happen, and this
painful.
is why.
I drive 40,000 miles a year.
Right.
I hate it. I hate it as much as anybody.
What about, I want to ask you, since we're talking tax, go ahead.
On the gas tax,
Right.
costs you 3.5 cents a gallon now. When we passed it, gas is selling for $3.60 a gallon. Yesterday, I passed the gas station down there, it's $2.82. So you're saving a lot, which has nothing to do with the gas tax. But in the end, I think people are actually sitting and idling in traffic, burning up more now, wasting time and gas than what we've added to them for the gas tax.
This goes back to something that is always a thorn in my side. That is the infrastructure of Southern Maryland. So these taxes come along, painful though they might be. Everybody kind of bites the bullet and says, "Okay, well, we'll do it because
you got to pay for stuff.
You got to pay for stuff, and we're going to have roads and we're going to have bridges." But we don't have roads and we don't have bridges. So I mean, we do, but they kind of bite.
That 234 bridge. I mean, come on.
And every
How
time,
long does it take
every time
I was at the barbershop this morning, believe it or not.
Right.
It opens
Yeah.
at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And somebody there was traveling to Pennsylvania. He
Yeah?
said, boy, I don't look forward to that because roads are so horrible in Pennsylvania.
well, they are terrible.
They're horrible.
And
once you hit that line.
They blacktopped over a deer a couple years ago.
They
That's honest
did.
truth.
Who does that? Pennsylvania. PennDOT.
As compared to Maryland, everybody in the mid-Atlantic region says we do have decent roads.
We do
We
have
always
decent
have.
roads.
We do.
We do. But here's one thing that I see.
They have fallen into disrepair probably in the last 5-8 years.
Is that because of the shift of the monies? The transportation monies we're not getting as much in the counties?
So I could show you data that says since 1982 we have taken money from the Transportation Trust Fund
Right.
to the tune of about $580 million.
Yow.
Put back about $614 million
But that doesn't include the interest.
on a pretty short-term basis. It's not like we took it out in '82 and didn't pay it back until
Oh, I
2002.
see. Okay, so you're
Took
saying
it within a year or two. We did that.
Here's-
So no money has been pulled out. Now, there's been a shortfall in terms of money going to the counties to take care of county-owned roads.
why?
Because there was no money.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, in the end, the gas tax revenues were the same per gallon as they have been since 1992. And with vehicles getting more miles per gallon, that revenue has been falling or flat, very flat. And yet the cost, I always use this, it costs more now to paint the Bay Bridge per year than it did to build the Bay Bridge originally.
Wow.
Way, way more.
One of the things that, and I feel like I'm raking you over the coals here on this because it's not your thing, but it's.
I would expect nothing less from T, right?
I know, right?
Right.
But this drives me nuts. And I was screaming in my car. Can you imagine that? Just the other
I can't
day.
imagine. Calm, cool,
I'm
collected.
just
Yeah.
I'm shouting at the dashboard. I'm driving through Leonardtown,
Yeah.
and they're ripping up Leonardtown, and they're ripping up perfectly good.
Because of a housing project.
Yeah, I know they got the thing going on in there, but
Right.
then you go right past that, and you get into that weird little bottleneck that's in Leonardtown.
It's awful in
Awful.
winter.
Horrible.
Awful.
And there was a guy turning left into the hospital, backed up traffic for like 2 miles.
Awful.
So they got that housing development going in. They got to widen that out, but they're ripping up perfectly good concrete or pavement, and they're putting down pavement. And I see it all the time. We don't. It's like we got a house with a horrible leak in the roof, and all we keep doing is painting the shutters.
But T, if we don't use it, we don't get it next year.
Then use it on a bridge.
It goes to Montgomery County or it goes to Prince George's County. At least
don't know.
it creates jobs.
I'm just
in
telling you,
Southern
John,
Maryland.
it's driving me nuts. I'm telling you, it's driving
We
me
have
nuts.
beautiful roads out there, and
Now,
I thank the folks at
That
SHA.
aside is not your problem. I'm just yelling at you because you
Okay.
go up to Annapolis.
Let's talk about the VMT. Because I've heard some conservative politicians that come in here and say, oh, it could happen.
Right.
It could happen.
It was pretty well dormant and dead Anthony Brown says
Why do the
if he's
conservatives keep bringing it up? They need to be quiet about it.
It's a
Stop
gr-
bringing it up.
on Halloween, I'll say this, it's a great boogeyman that gets
Ooh.
people very stirred up.
Right. It does.
It's a perfect issue. And they will swear, no, it's not that. Well, they've breathed life back into the notion of it for, it's good politics. I understand that.
But they keep bringing it up. They should be quiet.
Because it scares the bejesus out of folks.
Right.
And it gets them all fired up, and they get angry and say, well, we're sure if we return any incumbents, next thing they're going to do is implement that. If you talk to Anthony Brown, candidate, and I'm sure Larry Hogan, they both say, no, dead as a doornail, and we have no intention of going down that route.
Right.
You talk to the Maryland Department of Transportation, they said it the other day in Leonardtown. It was a recommendation from a contractor who was hired by Maryland Department of Transportation.
Right.
They have no
intention. But I mean, the gas tax. It was a hard pill to swallow. Some people understand it. Some people are furious about it.
Right.
But it is something. Okay, we're paying it and we're doing.
But here's the
thing. But the VMT tax.
Yeah.
On top of that, that's a backbreaker, especially for people in Southern Maryland. You're driving like a crazy man, tons of miles on the vehicles. We can't pay both. Would you vote against?
And many other legislators would be apoplectic over a VMT tax. We would go bonkers. How's that?
Okay, great.
Over a VMT tax proposal. And for that reason, no one has brought it before the legislature and said, yeah, we think this is the way to go. Now, people will talk about emissions goals and things like that.
Right.
But even MDOT has, there are other ways of achieving our emissions goals rather than going the route of VMT.
One thing that came up in your last term, and I was really glad to see you got on this quick and in a hurry, was that radar wind turbine thing, everybody got in a twist about that, and I was like, why aren't we just waiting until the study comes back? Is that
too much logic in that, right?
Is it dead? Is it something we need to worry about? What's going on with that?
Big news yesterday, announced late in the day, so it's hitting today, and I'm pleased to help roll this out, is the Department of Defense officially objected to that project.
Oh, okay.
Good.
Bear
Awesome.
in mind, in 2011, a law was passed by Congress that set up the process for formal objection. Over 2,000 alternative energy projects, wind and solar and other things that could interfere with defense installations, have gone through without problem. One from the Army was moving up the chain and was overruled. In fact, I think the White House had a role in that.
Oh, really?
Ours is the first formal objection signed by the Department of Defense. This is huge.
What does that mean, though? What does that mean for PAX and that wind farm?
It is.
They're objecting, but is it dead, or is it still, the grumblings are still there?
There is no likely way for them to resurrect that project at this point. There are some.
Really?
The Somerset County Commissioners have frankly been waiting for this, and they have said if there's a national security issue, which is exactly what the Department of Defense formally stated yesterday
in their objection.
In the letter, then the commissioners have said they're not going to proceed. The company has said if there's a national security issue, they will not proceed. So that all broke yesterday.
That's great news for PAX and the people down there. That's excellent
We
news.
got a couple minutes left here. What do you want people to know about your candidacy, you as a person, what you hope to accomplish in Annapolis?
We have some great things going. I've enjoyed very much my service in the legislature, representing what I think is the greatest part of the state. I have the southern part of St. Mary's County. Look, my family has been as engaged, my wife, my son, and others.
She's so sweet.
In the election this year. And I really am anxious to get back, roll up the shirt sleeves, and continue what I think is some very positive work in truly making some long-term and needed changes that put us on the path to real diversification. We've become overly reliant on the goodness of the Navy and the robust spending at Pax River. We can't count on that. So we've got the opportunity, I believe, to do what a lot of other communities have done, which is bring in some jobs that really provide. You don't have to be an engineer to fill some of these jobs. We've got the opportunity.
That's what I said yesterday. Everybody talks about the doctorate, the master's degree, and we're so tech savvy. We're the technology corridor. But what about the people?
But we can build things. A lot of what we do outside the fence, the contractors, is provide services. We have the ability here. We have the talent pool assembled now, the critical mass, to really be able to build things, fabricate things. And there's $40 billion that flows through Pax River every year. Most of it gets spent elsewhere around the country. You think about that. That's equivalent to the state budget.
Right.
State budget's $39 billion.
Wow.
It's about the same amount that flows through Pax River. A lot more of that could be captured and kept here to build things. And UAVs is the best and best example emerging.
We were just talking about this yesterday, and that's really something that I would like to see for Southern Maryland. I would like to see some.
It's exciting. It is happening.
And I would like to see more of it happening. I'd like to see some skilled jobs. Listen, it's great when everybody has these advanced degrees, but somebody, like you said this morning, there's bulldozers running down at the airport. Well, somebody's got to drive those bulldozers.
Right. A doctor of neurology isn't on a D8 moving gravel.
But we have people who can build things, who have talents that they can use inside the fence, but they can also use outside the fence. And it augments, it fits nicely with where the Navy wants to go in terms of not always relying on the big manufacturers. There are companies that we can establish locally who can do the fabrication, do the retrofits, and do things that...
I like the sound of that a lot.
And that is happening. We have a company that's already moved into town, Aurora Flight Sciences. They're mostly focused on UAVs, but there are many other companies who are anxious to come here and participate and sort of grow with us on the ground floor.
Well, listen, his name is John Bohanan. He's running for delegate to once again represent Southern Maryland up in Annapolis. So if you like what you hear and you like the job he's done to this point, remember his name when you go to vote.
And I bet he has the best house in the world. Is Mary making trick or treat? What is she doing? Does she buy candy bars or does she actually bake? Because she's an incredible baker. What is she handing out at your house?
Confession, we are not as prepared this year for Halloween.
It's an election year.
It's an election year. It's harder.
Right.
Well, tell her we said hi, please.
And we don't get as many trick-or-treaters
I don't
as
either.
we used to.
We
I
don't
don't either.
either.
It's
Well,
not-
it's tea. They stay away.
It's
I think that's what it
disappointing,
is.
I can imagine.
Get off my lawn, you stupid kids. All right. Well, listen, let's get a check of traffic, see what's happening on the roads this morning.